What if I told you that the man who once insisted he held the entire Brown family together is now going door to door, heart in hand, trying to fix the very relationships he helped break? What if I told you that behind the cameras, behind the polite smiles, and behind every carefully worded confession, there's a wildfire of regret, resentment, and reality finally catching up to Kody Brown? And what if I told you that his so-called apology tour isn't just about healing the past, it might be the biggest turning point the family has faced in over a decade? 'Cause tonight we're stepping straight into the emotional storm that season 20 has only hinted at, where fractured ties, buried wounds, and unfinished conversations finally collide. And trust me, some of the moments we're about to revisit will make you tilt your head, raise an eyebrow, and ask yourself, is Kody apologizing or is he trying to rewrite history? But let's slow down for just a second, because once we open this door, it won't close again. We're going to look at why these relationships cracked the way they did, why Kody suddenly feels the need to make things right, and why some of the women aren't buying it for a single second. And somewhere toward the end, there's a moment, a small detail buried in episodes 10 through 12 that changes the whole picture. You'll hear it. You'll feel it. And when it comes, it might just make you rethink everything leading up to it. Now, I won't spoil anything too early. After all, half the fun is following the trail. But stay with me because every piece of this story connects. The broken trust, the new boundaries, quiet strength, and yes, the fallout no one wants to talk about. And hey, if you've been on this ride with the Browns as long as I have, you know one thing. The story always gets deeper right when you think it's settling down. So if you want to make sure you never miss these turning points, you already know what to do, but don't worry, I'll remind you softly later. For now, let's begin. 'Cause the moment we start looking at how fractured these relationships have truly become, everything else starts to make a whole lot more sense. When you step back and look at this family after all these years, you can almost feel the cracks before you see them. It's like walking into an old house you grew up in. Everything looks familiar, but something in the air tells you it's not the same anymore. And with the Browns, those cracks didn't appear overnight. They formed slowly, quietly, like hairline fractures in glass, until one day the whole thing finally gave way. Kody's relationships didn't just break. They eroded. Piece by piece. Moment by moment. One skip conversation here, one misunderstanding there, one moment of pride too big to swallow. And before anyone realized what was happening, the connections that once made this plural marriage look unshakable were hanging by threads thinner than sewing string. Now, if you've been watching this family from the early days, you know exactly when the tone began to change. You could see it in the way the wives' shoulders tightened during group conversations, how smiles didn't reach their eyes the way they used to, and how Kody's words slowly shifted from partnership to authority. And once that shift happened, well, that's when the storm clouds started rolling in. But here's where it gets interesting, because every relationship fell apart for a different reason. Janelle's quiet frustration wasn't the same as Christine's exhaustion. And Meri's loneliness? That was its own chapter entirely. Even Robyn, who many viewers feel had the closest bond with Kody, couldn't escape the ripple effect of tension running through the household. And if you listen closely to Kody in the later interviews, those moments where he tries to explain the drift, you hear something unexpected buried in his tone. Not anger. Not defensiveness. Something much older, heavier, maybe even regret. Almost like a man standing in front of a life he built himself and realizing he doesn't recognize half of it anymore. But hold on, because right when you start thinking you've got the whole picture, another layer shows up. A deeper one. One that hints that the fractures weren't just emotional, they were structural. Certain promises weren't kept. Certain conversations were avoided. And certain loyalties were tested long before the public ever saw a single tear. And here's the twist, a twist older folks like us know all too well. Sometimes it's not the big fights that break a relationship. It's the little things folks don't fix. As the old saying goes, it's the termites you don't see that bring the house down. And that's exactly what started happening in this family. Now, something happens in episode 10, a tiny line Kody slips in that gives us a clue about how long these fractures were forming. It's the kind of detail you miss if you're blinking, but once you notice it, you can't unhear it. We'll get to that soon because it ties everything together in a way that'll make you go, "Ah, so that's where it really began." But first, we need to take one more step into this emotional maze, because understanding these cracks is the only way to understand why Kody suddenly feels the need to apologize. And trust me, once we get there, the story gets a whole lot deeper. Now, when a man like Kody suddenly starts knocking on old emotional doors, folks naturally wonder, why now, after years of tension, years of stubborn pride, and years of standing firm in his own version of the truth? What finally pushed him toward an apology tour? Because if there's one thing longtime viewers know, it's that Kody Brown hasn't exactly been famous for admitting fault. But here's where the story starts to sharpen. Somewhere between the family fracturing and the wives stepping into their own power, Kody found himself standing in a kind of silence he'd never felt before. Not the peaceful kind, but the heavy kind. Kind that makes a man realize he's talked so much that he never learned how to listen. Kind that forces you to look in the mirror and see the consequences staring right back at you. And here's something older viewers understand better than anyone. Life has a way of slowing you down right when you think you're running the show. It nudges you, taps you on the shoulder, and whispers, "Hey, you missed a few things." That whisper eventually turns into a voice you can't ignore. And if you listen closely to Kody's recent interviews, you can almost hear that voice pushing through, a mix of regret, confusion, and maybe even fear. But fear of what? Well, fear of losing the last pieces of a family he spent decades building. Fear of becoming a visitor in the lives of the people who once trusted him most. And the big one, fear of the story being told without his side of it. 'Cause let's be honest, nobody wants to go down in the history books as the villain in their own home movie. There's also something practical under all of this, something viewers don't talk about but absolutely feel. Once the wives stepped away, they started thriving. New houses, new confidence, new beginnings. And nothing shakes a man quite like realizing the world didn't crumble without him. That kind of reality check will humble even the most stubborn soul. But here's the twist that gives this chapter its weight. Kody isn't just apologizing to fix the past. No. He's apologizing because he wants to stay relevant in their future. And that future is moving toward a place where his presence is no longer guaranteed. Not by commitment, not by tradition, and not by emotional ties. And there's something else, something subtle. When Kody talks about making things right, listen to the words he doesn't say. Pauses. The tight smile. The slight shake in the voice. That's not a man trying to prove he's right. That's a man trying to convince himself he hasn't lost everything. Now keep this in mind because the next part of this story hits even harder. There's a reaction, a very specific reaction, from one wife that reveals exactly how far Kody's apologies can actually go and how far they can't. We're about to step into that moment next, and trust me, it changes the whole tone of this apology tour. When Kody finally sat down with Janelle, hoping to repair what was left of their relationship, it wasn't just another conversation. It felt more like history walking right back into the room, except this time Janelle wasn't the same woman he used to know. She had a different kind of calm to her, the kind you only earn after surviving a storm you never asked for. And the moment Kody started talking, trying to explain, trying to soften old wounds, trying to reach for something familiar, you could almost see the skepticism slide across Janelle's face. Not anger. Not bitterness. Just experience. The kind of experience that whispers, asterisk, I've heard this tone before. Asterisk. See, Janelle has always been the steady one. Practical thinker. Problem solver. The one who kept the gears moving when the family machine started to rattle. But when the cracks formed, and Kody grew distant, distracted, and sometimes downright dismissive, she was the one who held everything together until she simply couldn't anymore. So when he comes back now with apologies and explanations, well, she doesn't just let words wash over her. She weighs them, measures them, tests them. And here's where it gets interesting. In their season 20 conversations, Janelle listens, but she doesn't lean in. She hears him, but she doesn't reach back. It's like watching someone walk through a museum of memories, familiar but behind glass where nothing can touch her. She's not cold. She's just careful. Older viewers know this feeling all too well. The old Southern expression puts it plain. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, well, I won't make it to the second time. And that's the energy Janelle carries. She's not resentful, she's simply done being disappointed. And Kody feels it. You can see it in the way his posture changes. He leans forward more. He defends himself a little too quickly. He starts using phrases meant to soften the moment. I didn't mean to, maybe I wasn't clear. I should have tried harder. It's the language of a man trying to rewind a clock that stopped ticking a long time ago. But here comes the quiet twist, and this is the part that catches viewers by surprise. Janelle isn't just skeptical of Kody's apology, she's skeptical of his motives. There's a moment in episode 11 where she tilts her head just slightly and you can almost hear her thinking, is he apologizing because he's sorry or because he's lonely? And that question sits in the air like a weight neither of them can lift. Because deep down, Janelle knows something Kody hasn't quite admitted. An apology without change is just a story. And she has lived through too many chapters to fall for the same storyline again. But hold on, because as steady as Janelle seems, the next reaction in this story is even stronger. When Kody tries to pull the same emotional thread with Christine, the response he gets is nothing like what he received from Janelle. In fact, it might be the most defining moment of his entire apology tour. Now, if Janelle met Kody's apology with calm skepticism, Christine's response was something entirely different, firm, steady, and unwavering, like a woman who finally learned the power of saying no more. And the moment Kody tried to reopen that old emotional door, you could almost feel the shift in the room. Christine wasn't stepping backward, she was standing her ground. You see, Christine's journey wasn't just about leaving a marriage. It was about reclaiming a sense of self she had put on the back burner for far too long. And when she finally walked away, she didn't do it to make a point. She did it because she realized she deserved better. And once a woman reaches that kind of clarity, well, there's no turning back. So when Kody approached her, offering apologies mixed with reflections, trying to bridge a gap that had grown wider than he expected, Christine didn't soften. She didn't crumble. She didn't let nostalgia tug at her sleeve. She listened, yes, but she listened with a boundary strong enough to stand on its own. And older viewers know exactly why this moment hit so hard. There's a quote from the old days that fits Christine perfectly. A wise woman keeps her peace by knowing where not to return. And that's exactly the energy she brought to her interactions with Kody. A peaceful firmness that said, I'm healed and I'm not reopening old wounds. But here's where Kody seemed genuinely caught off guard. He expected emotion. He expected maybe a tear, maybe a softened tone, maybe a hint of old familiarity. What he got instead was clarity. Christine spoke plainly, with the kind of honesty that doesn't need sharp edges to be powerful. And when she said she moved on, she meant it. Not as a threat, not as a performance, but as a truth she has lived every single day since leaving. Still, there was one detail in their conversation that revealed more than either of them probably realized. When Christine said, I needed to feel valued, something flickered in Kody's expression, almost like he was hearing those words for the first time even though she'd said them for years. And that flicker? That's the moment viewers leaned in, because it showed just how far apart they had been long before the physical distance ever showed up. But make no mistake, Christine wasn't cruel. She wasn't dismissive. She simply refused to let Kody rewrite the past into something more comfortable. Her boundaries were firm, yes, but they were kind. And sometimes kindness is stronger than confrontation. Now here's the real twist, one that gives this entire apology tour an unexpected layer. When Christine stands firm, it forces Kody to face something he can't talk his way around. The reality that some doors don't reopen, even when you knock with your heart in your hands. And as powerful as this moment was, the next part of our story adds a completely different flavor. Because while Christine found her freedom, Meri discovered something else entirely, the strength to move on in her own deeply personal way. And what she reveals, well, that's coming up next. Meri's journey after stepping away from Kody has always been quietly compelling, but in Season 20 it takes on a new depth, one that's equal parts resilience and revelation. Unlike some of the sharper confrontations we've seen, Meri's path isn't about loud declarations or dramatic showdowns. It's about discovering who she is when the cameras aren't rolling, and that is perhaps the most powerful story of all. You can see it in the little things. How she walks into a room with a subtle confidence she didn't carry before. How she laughs more freely, even if just for a moment, because she's no longer tethered to a cycle of disappointment. And when she talks about her plans, her projects, her friendships, her new routines, you feel a quiet strength that has been forged in the fires of heartbreak and the slow rebuilding of trust in herself. But here's what makes Meri's story resonate. It's painfully relatable. Viewers, especially those who remember their own moments of stepping out of long-standing relationships, recognize the courage it takes to move forward without needing validation. As the old saying goes, the only way out is through, and Meri is living proof of that. Every choice she makes is layered with intention, even when it seems simple. And yet, the past isn't so easy to shake off. Even as she tries to carve out her own space, there are reminders. A comment from Kody, a shared memory, even a glance from the other wives, each one a small tug back toward the old life she's working so hard to leave behind. That tension keeps the story alive because it reminds us that moving on isn't linear. It's messy. It's human. And it's beautiful in its own way. Now, if you watch closely, you'll notice moments in episodes 10 through 12 where Meri pauses, just a beat, before making decisions. That pause is more than hesitation, it's reflection. And reflection is the gateway to growth. Viewers can almost hear the unspoken conversation she's having with herself. Am I strong enough to step fully into this new life? Am I ready to let go completely? It's a delicate balancing act between holding on to lessons learned and releasing the pain that could keep her stuck. And just when it seems like she's fully moving forward, a subtle interaction reminds us that the family's dynamics are never far behind. A text, a comment, or an unexpected encounter can bring everything back into sharp relief, testing her progress and reminding the audience that healing is ongoing. That's the tension that keeps viewers leaning in, wondering, will she truly find the peace she's chasing, or will old patterns keep tugging her backward? But hold that thought, because as Meri navigates her own journey, Robyn is quietly observing and responding in ways that add another layer to this unfolding story. Her perspective and the ripple effect it creates within the family is coming up next, and it may be more surprising than you think. Robyn has always had a unique position in this family, neither the first nor the last, but someone who often serves as the quiet anchor when tensions rise. And in Season 20, her role takes on a more intricate, almost delicate dimension. She's not just reacting, she's observing, calculating, and responding in ways that shape how the rest of the family experiences Kody's apology tour. At first glance, Robyn appears calm, a soft smile, measured words, and a steadiness that many viewers admire. But look closer and you see layers of thought beneath the surface. Every nod, every pause, every subtle glance seems to carry a meaning that's larger than it appears. She's navigating her own feelings while simultaneously watching the ripple effects of Kody's attempts to reconcile. And here's where the intrigue begins. Unlike Janelle, who responds with skepticism, or Christine, who sets clear boundaries, Robyn often treads a line between empathy and self-preservation. She listens to apologies, reflects on past grievances, and sometimes even mediates tension, all while holding her own perspective firmly in place. It's a delicate dance, and it's one that keeps viewers hooked because you never know when she might lean one way or the other. Older viewers might recognize a familiar pattern here, the quiet observer who understands the weight of every word, the one who knows when to speak and when to remain silent. There's wisdom in Robyn's restraint, and it's almost hypnotic to watch. She's learning from the past, applying lessons without drama, and yet even she can't escape the emotional gravity pulling at the family. But the real tension comes from her subtle reactions during Kody's direct apologies. A slight hesitation, a carefully chosen word, or a soft, almost imperceptible sigh signals that she is considering everything carefully. Is she forgiving? Is she warning? Or is she silently reminding Kody and the viewers that every action has a consequence? That ambiguity keeps the audience leaning in, waiting for the moment where her influence tips the balance. And just when you think Robyn's presence might be passive, she delivers small, strategic interventions that shift the emotional temperature of the room. A word of reassurance here, a gentle challenge there, and suddenly she becomes the pivot around which the family's dynamics rotate. Subtle but powerful, and it underscores an important reality. In a family this fractured, sometimes the quietest voice carries the heaviest weight. Yet, even with all her careful management, Robyn faces moments that challenge her neutrality, moments where she must reconcile loyalty, truth, and her own emotional boundaries. And the decisions she makes in these moments? They don't just affect Kody. They affect everyone, including the viewer's understanding of what reconciliation truly means. Next, we'll move into the heart of the emotional fallout, the part where all these interactions collide and the consequences of Kody's apology tour become undeniable. That's where the story takes a turn that even seasoned viewers won't see coming. The fallout from Kody's apology tour didn't happen all at once. Spread quietly, like ripples across a pond, touching each family member in unexpected ways. And what's striking is how differently everyone reacted. Janelle's skepticism, Christine's firm boundaries, Meri's quiet resilience, and Robyn's observant neutrality all collided, creating a complex emotional landscape that left no one untouched. Even viewers can feel it. It's in the silence after a conversation ends, in a glance that lingers too long, in laughter that carries just a hint of tension. Each apology, each explanation, each attempt at reconciliation carries weight, and some carry more than anyone anticipated. What seems like progress in one room can feel like a reminder of old wounds in another. And here's the truth older audiences understand instinctively: emotional fallout isn't always loud. It's often subtle, internal, and persistent. A family can appear functional on the surface while the undercurrent of unresolved tension quietly dictates behavior. You see it when a smile doesn't reach the eyes, when a compliment is withheld, or when a pause stretches longer than it should. In the Browns' case, those undercurrents are practically tangible. The ripple effect is also tied to expectations. Kody wanted acknowledgement, perhaps even forgiveness, but that's not how emotions work. Some family members are ready to move forward, some are not. Some are willing to engage, others are building walls. The result is a delicate, almost fragile equilibrium where one small action can tip the emotional scale dramatically. And yet, this fallout isn't just about Kody. It's about the entire family adapting to new realities, learning where to stand, how to protect themselves, and where compromise is possible. You can see it in the way conversations unfold, how some interactions are cautious and deliberate, and how the bonds that remain are tested daily. But there's a deeper layer here that many viewers might miss at first glance. Emotional fallout also exposes hidden dynamics. The power of old habits, the lingering impact of past mistakes, and the truth that apologies, even heartfelt ones, cannot erase history. It's a reminder that rebuilding trust is a slow, unpredictable process that depends on actions as much as words. And just when it seems the family might find balance, a subtle clash occurs, a minor disagreement or an overlooked remark, that reminds everyone, including the audience, that healing isn't linear. The tension, the unspoken feelings, and the delicate negotiations continue to shape interactions, making every following scene in episodes 10 to 12 a mix of hope and uncertainty. Hold on to that thought, because the next part of this story takes us directly into the very moments of Kody's apology attempts, the scenes that sparked these ripples, created reactions, and brought every emotion into focus. What happens there is raw, revealing, and unforgettable. The heart of Kody's apology tour comes alive when you watch the actual scenes unfold in episodes 10 through 12. These are the moments where words meet emotion, where intentions clash with reality, and where the cameras capture every subtle shift that no viewer can ignore. You see Kody approaching each wife differently, trying to tailor his words to the history he shares with them. With Janelle, it's careful, measured, almost cautious, as if he's stepping through a minefield of past grievances. She responds with short sentences, controlled expressions, and a patience that doesn't hide skepticism. Tension is almost tangible, like the room itself is holding its breath. Christine's encounter is sharper. Kody's attempts at explanation are met with polite but firm resistance. Her posture, her deliberate pauses, and the steady calm in her voice communicate one thing clearly. Boundaries aren't just words for Christine, they are a line drawn in the sand. And when Kody reaches out, hoping for an emotional bridge, she doesn't flinch, doesn't cry, doesn't soften. She simply stands in her truth, and viewers feel the weight of every word she leaves unspoken. Meri's moments are quieter but no less compelling. You notice her subtle gestures, a slight nod, a reflective gaze, the almost imperceptible lift of a corner of her mouth. Her presence is a mix of guardedness and growth. It's clear she's processing not just Kody's words but her own path forward. Watching her, you understand that moving on isn't about rejecting the past but integrating it into a new reality. Robyn's scenes, though understated, carry a different energy. She listens, she observes. She occasionally intervenes with a word of balance or a gentle clarification. Her calm acts as a stabilizer in rooms charged with emotion, reminding everyone, including viewers, that sometimes subtle influence shapes the course of reconciliation more than loud declarations ever could. And then there are the moments that make you lean forward in your seat. The almost accidental lines Kody delivers, the lingering eye contact, the pauses where tension hangs so thickly you can almost cut it with a knife. These aren't scripted. These are raw human interactions, the kind that leave viewers whispering, analyzing, and replaying scenes long after the episode ends. But here's the twist. Not all apologies land the way Kody hopes. Some are met with silence. Some with gentle acknowledgement. Some with a look that says, "We'll see," and that uncertainty is exactly what keeps audiences engaged, because it mirrors reality more than any scripted drama ever could. And just when you think the tension has peaked, there's a moment toward the end of episode 12 that shifts everything. A glance, a word, a reaction, something that promises to change the trajectory of the family story. Subtle yet powerful, and it's the bridge into the next layer. How fans and social media reacted to the tour, creating ripples that even the Browns couldn't ignore. Next, we'll explore that fallout and the online reaction that added fuel to an already simmering fire. As Kody's apology tour unfolded on screen, viewers didn't just watch, they reacted. And in the age of social media, those reactions spread like wildfire, adding a whole new dimension to the story. From Twitter threads to Facebook comments, Reddit discussions to fan forums, everyone had something to say, and each comment, each opinion acted like a magnifying glass, shining a spotlight on every nuance of the family dynamics. Fans of the show, especially those who followed the Browns for decades, had strong feelings about Kody's attempts to mend fences. Some applauded the effort, seeing a man finally acknowledging his mistakes and taking steps to reconnect. They appreciated the vulnerability, the honesty, the willingness to face uncomfortable truths, something older viewers recognize as rare even in real life. But the praise wasn't universal. Many viewers expressed frustration, skepticism, or even disbelief. "Apologies are one thing, but change is another," one fan wrote. Another tweeted, "I've seen this movie before, same lines, same promises." The sentiment was clear. Past behavior casts long shadows, and online audiences were quick to remind Kody of that. These reactions created a chorus of voices weighing in on the sincerity, timing, and impact of every apology, amplifying the tension that played out on screen. And then there were the emotional reactions, the fans who felt a personal connection to the stories, who saw reflections of their own relationships in the Browns' struggles. Their comments carried empathy, heartbreak, and even relief as they navigated the drama alongside the family. Some shared advice, some shared warnings, and some simply expressed hope that the apologies would lead to real healing. Social media didn't just serve as a mirror of audience sentiment, it influenced perception. Clips of Kody's attempts, screenshots of reactions, and viral moments from episodes 10 to 12 sparked discussions that reached beyond casual viewers, engaging even those who hadn't followed every episode. Suddenly, Kody's apology tour wasn't just a family affair. It was a public spectacle, with real-time commentary shaping the way every scene was interpreted. Older viewers may remember when television audiences were silent and reactions lived only in the living room. Now every word, every gesture, every expression is dissected, celebrated, or critiqued instantly. The Browns' private struggles became a shared experience, and the online reaction added a new layer of pressure, validation, and even tension for the family. But here's the fascinating part. The social media reaction didn't just reflect the past, it hinted at the future. Fans speculated on what each wife might do next, how Kody's relationships could evolve, and what moments might appear in upcoming episodes. That speculation created anticipation, driving engagement and leaving viewers hungry for the next chapter. And just when you think you've absorbed all the online chatter, there's a surprise twist in how one particular interaction, something seemingly small, triggered a huge reaction, hinting at an emotional turning point the family didn't see coming. That moment and its ripple effect sets the stage for the next part of the story, what lies ahead for Kody and the Browns. As we wrap up this deep dive into Sister Wives Season 20, one thing is crystal clear. Kody Brown's apology tour has stirred emotions, reignited old tensions, and reminded us why we can't look away from this family's drama. From Janelle Kody fight recap moments to Christine David wedding plans, every episode keeps fans on edge, wondering what will happen next. In Sister Wives Episode 11, we saw reactions ranging from Meri's speed dating reaction to Robyn Brown 2025 update, and even a hint of Christine Woolley book secrets spilling over from past storylines. The Meri Brown Vegas episode and Coyote Pass sale drama showed the highs and lows of the Brown family's business and personal decisions, while Janelle Flower Farm 2025 and Meri B&B empire growth highlighted their independent journeys. Fans are still buzzing over Robyn alone with Kody favorite wife exposed, and the subtle reminders of Kody Janelle male menopause, proving that even decades into this story, surprises are always around the corner. And don't forget the emotional weight of Sister Wives Garrison tribute, which added a layer of heartfelt reflection amidst all the chaos. Looking ahead, the Sister Wives October update teases more Brown family controversies ranked, while speculation about ex-wives reunion predictions keeps the community debating who will reconcile, who will stand firm, and what bombshells the Sister Wives tell all might reveal. From Christine David family life to Janelle North Carolina move, and even the Kody billboard job fail, the Browns continue to give us stories that are equal parts entertaining and emotional. If you've loved this breakdown, make sure to subscribe to Sister Wives Daily Scoop and hit the bell for alerts, because we cover everything from Sister Wives July 2025 drama to Sister Wives Kids Updates 2025, keeping you in the loop on every twist and turn. Drop a comment below and tell us, which apology or family moment shocked you the most? And remember, the next chapter is coming soon. Could we see Meri's next move, or perhaps Christine's family revelations? Will Kody's relationships shift again? Stay tuned, because the Brown family never stops surprising us, and you'll want to be the first to get the scoop right here on Sister Wives Daily Scoop.